What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And in today's episode, I'm going to give you 5 targets that the Knicks should go after at the trade deadline. And I'm also going to give you my top 5 New York sports moments of 2024. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo a 3. Bang! Bang! At the wall, he jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso with the most memorable home run of his career.
All right, before I get into the episode, I just want to thank everybody who helped me out this year. Huge thank you to Keith McPherson, who I interned for, if you guys don't know. Paul Dottino for coming on the show, Jessica Clark for offering to give me a tour of the WFAN studios, Mr. Martin for helping me build this beautiful setup, and everybody else along the way. But now getting into it, and before that, in 2025, we're getting way bigger. More consistency, more episodes. I'm looking to grow a lot in 2025. I'm going to lock in a ton of content coming on the way next year. All right, let's go. Knicks, what do they need at the trade deadline, and who are those people? I'm putting names to needs now. What I said, I've said this before. They need a forward who can shoot and play defense, and they need a backup center that can just D up, get rebounds, and it'd be preferable that he could score a little bit, but that's not really an absolute need of said person. So first with the forwards, I want to see what we have in Landry Shamet before I jump the gun and ask the Knicks to get one of the better options at the trade deadline. Because really at the deadline, you're going to just improve on the margins. But if you can get one of these guys who can really produce, like I guess OG was kind of an interesting pickup last year because he's done so much and he's a starter, and it was a lot before the trade deadline. But I don't even have a real name in mind. But I want to see what Landry Shamet, what we have in him. Can he be can he help out a little bit? Because when he's played, and he hasn't played too much in valuable minutes, crunch time. He's never gonna play in crunch time, but he hasn't played before garbage time. But let's see. Let's look at last game. Knicks win at 126. They win by 20 points against the Wizards. All right, let's see. What did Landry Shamet do? Landry Shamet, in 11 minutes, he scored 6 points on 2 for 2 from three-point land. He was 2 for 4 from the field. That if we could get that kind of production out of him, play him a little bit more minutes, I want him to be playing 15, 16 minutes a game, not doing too much, but just letting Mikal sit a little bit, letting OG sit a little bit, getting these guys some rest. Those are the guys that I want. And my first target, I have 3 for forwards, 2 for centers. My first target, and this might take a little bit more than all the other guys, but Kelly Oubre, I think he would fit this Knicks team absolutely perfect. It would take a lot for the Knicks to get him. It would take the Sixers falling out of the race. It would take the Sixers to be willing to trade with the Knicks. But I think this is like one of the years. The Knicks are in that, they're in the middle of that 3 to 5 year championship window right now. I'm saying this is year 2. Last year was fun and games. You kind of opened up the window. This year, it's locked in. We're trying to go get it. We're trying to do everything. You trade for Kelly Oubre. He's on an expiring contract, and that's what all these guys are on for the most part. I think there's only one guy on this list that's not on an expiring deal, and the Knicks only have one more year of control after this one for that guy. I'll get to him later in the episode. But Kelly Oubre, he could shoot. We saw what he could do on defense in the first 2 games of the playoff series with the Knicks last year. He pretty much neutralized Jalen Brunson. Brunson did absolutely nothing in those first 2 games. He could lock down a team's, I don't know if he might not their number 1 target, but off the bench, he could come off the bench and be one of those energy guys. He starts for the Sixers, so they're going to have to be willing to move one of their better players. But if they are, this would be the perfect fit for the Knicks. He's got a little size. Let me see. How tall is Kelly Oubre? He's not huge or anything, but he was long enough to guard Brunson last year, and that's the type of guy you're going to want. Let me see. Kelly Oubre. Let's go to his profile. Spotrac has him listed as a forward. He's 6'8", 203. Perfect. He's averaging 12 points a game on 45% from the field. On the season, he's averaging, his 3-point percentage sucks. It's only 28%, but I'm not too worried about that because we've seen him be able to shoot in the past. I think Kelly Oubre would be an awesome fit for the Knicks. It'd be more about the Sixers. It takes two to tango, and that's what a lot of this trading situation is. Is the other team going to be willing to move one of their guys? All right, next guy on the list, Chris Boucher from the Raptors. This is another guy. He's a lanky forward who can shoot the ball. If I go to his ESPN page, I was looking at it last night. Chris Boucher, he's another guy who he's more of a shooter. So but he can play defense. He's a power forward. He could play center. I think he's gonna be more of he's a little bit more of a scoring guy. He's 6'9", 200. He's averaging 10 points a game on 46% from the field. And I think he would really work with the Knicks. He's another guy that the Knicks would really trade. Like the Raptors, I'm confused on what the Knicks relationship is with the Raptors. Because they made a big trade last year in the OG Anunoby trade. But there's also the stuff with James Dolan and that like the Raptors are suing James Dolan or something like that. So I'm confused on what their relationship is like. But with the Raptors, they've got to be looking to sell off. They lack a culture, and they are absolutely going to be sellers at the deadline. They just lost to the Celtics by like 45 points. They scored 71 points in that game. If I'm going to look at the NBA standings right now, where the Raptors land is the Raptors are second to last at 7-26. If they're not sellers and looking to trade off this guy, Chris Boucher, he's a bench piece for them. If they're not looking to trade off Chris Boucher, I don't care. But he would be such a good pickup. I would rather Kelly Oubre over him, but if you can't get Kelly Oubre, because I think it's going to take a lot, you're going to have to pay a premium to get Oubre. Chris Boucher is another nice guy. A nice player to replace him with. All right, one more option for the forwards, and then we'll get to the centers. We went down this road last year. Bojan Bogdanovic. Traded him to the Nets. He was a part of the Mikal Bridges trade. We saw he could fill the basket up a little bit in the playoffs. He had a big playoff game before he got hurt against the Sixers. There was a game, I think it was game 1. No, because Josh Hart was game 1. It was game 2 where he came off the bench like the third quarter. He hit a flurry of threes and really kept the Knicks in the game before that miraculous Dante DiVincenzo 3-pointer. Foreshadowing. The Knicks, if they trade for Bogey, they would still need to get another player who's going to be more of a defender. Because his defense, it's pretty much non-existent. I would like to see the Knicks trade for Bogey and then trade for another guy. I don't really have a name for that. I was thinking, I doubt they're going to trade for Bogdanovic. I think Chris Boucher is the most likely option. But this is like in order of the best options. And then also, if you switch Chris Boucher and Kelly Oubre, it's the most likely to happen. Because I doubt the Knicks make a second trade with the Nets in less than a calendar year. It wouldn't make sense to me. But he would be good. He would be a good scoring option. He would still need the defensive guy, like I said. But I think they could have it. If they trade for Bogdanovic and a center, you have your bench unit is going to be Deuce, Campaign, Bogey, Precious, and then whatever the center is. So like you could have him as your small forward. You don't need a ton of defense out of him because Precious makes up for what you lose in Bogey. But I don't know. It's the Nets. It's going to be difficult to trade for them with them, or rather. But I think Bogdanovic would be a good piece for the Knicks, and the Nets are already in the process of selling off. They've already traded Dennis Schroeder. They've already traded Dorian Finney-Smith. I would expect Cam Johnson to be next, but Bogdanovic has to be on the trading block. They traded Shake Milton away already also. Like, Bogey has to be available for the Knicks. All right, let's get to some of the centers. And for the centers, I'm not really in love with any of the options. I'm not sold on any of these guys. These are just the guys that I think are going to be the best fits at the best price for the Knicks. They're going to be the best options. Not that I really would love any of them. First one, this one, I would like him a lot, actually. Nick Richards from the Charlotte Hornets. We saw what he did against the Knicks when they with that awful game that the Knicks played against the Hornets the day after Thanksgiving. A young athletic big from Charlotte. The Hornets are going to be looking to sell off. If you look at the standings from the Hornets' perspective this time, the Hornets are third to last. They're the 13th seed in the East. So they've got to be looking to sell. They've got LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, but they don't really have much else. They don't have anything else. Scratch that. I guess they have Miles Bridges, but what is Miles Bridges really going to do? Nick Richards, he's got this year and next year of control. He's averaging 9.8 points on 57% from the field. He's long. He's athletic. I think he's a 7-footer. And I think he could block. He averages a couple blocks. Not a couple game. Right on the season, he's averaging 9.3 points, 7.8 boards on 56.8% from the field. And block-wise, he's averaging 1.2 a game, which is pretty good. And he only averages 2 points, just shy of 3 fouls a game. So he'll stay out of foul trouble. Karl Anthony Towns has been getting into foul trouble recently. So that is a good pickup. Then your front court off the bench could be whatever forward you decide to pick up. Maybe it's Landry Shamet. And then you got Precious Achiuwa and Nick Richards coming off the bench in the front court. I love that. He's one of those guys. He's kind of a spark plug guy. Like that's what the guys I want coming off the bench. I want the high energy guys. I don't want the guys that are going in there that are expected to be like, oh yeah, I'm dropping 30 every night. I'm dropping 25 doubles every night, like Karl Anthony Towns. Or the next guy, he's not like a high energy guy or anything. It's Jonas Valanciunas. I'll transition to him right now. I'm not super high on Valanciunas. I just wanted to give you two options in this episode. And I think as we get closer to the February deadline, there's going to be another guy that starts to emerge. But right now, I don't have one. I was looking through the expiring contracts. I was looking through 1 year left of control. This is the best one for the Knicks. He's always been like a solid player. He's playing on Washington right now. They're going to be looking to sell off. They don't have any culture. Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole are not going to do it for them. And yeah, Jonas Valanciunas, he's been moved a couple times in his career, I think. Listen to this stat line. Just shy of 12 points, 8 boards on 55% from the field. He's averaging just under a block a game in 19 minutes for the Wizards. That's similar to what he'd be playing with the Knicks too. You got Cat, he's probably gonna play about 25 minutes a game, and then you got Precious, and then you got Jonas Valanciunas, who Precious and Valanciunas will probably share the court. That would be, the more I'm talking about this, the more I'm falling in love with Valanciunas, and I don't think it's going to take too much to get him. The guys that I think are on the chopping block for the Knicks, Mitch, Jericho Sims, and then if you're going to trade for a forward, Landry Shamet. Those are the three guys that I think are really on the trading block. I think there's other guys that are there, I don't know, like Matt Ryan, stuff like that. Guys that are going to be filler contracts. They're not going to move Deuce. They're not going to move Campaign. And obviously, they're not going to move anybody from the starting lineup. But if I'm looking at their roster right now, they're not going to move Pacom Dadier. They're not going to... they might move Huck Porty, Tyler Kolek, maybe. I doubt it, though. Yeah, that's really it. Like, those 3-4 guys, maybe, are who are on the chopping block, who I think the Knicks could realistically trade. But the other thing is they have all the draft picks. They used a lot to get Mikal. They didn't use that many to get Cat. So they're still in a really good spot as far as draft picks and assets go, that they could just use draft picks to trade for these guys. All right, let's get to my top 5 New York sports moments of 2024. Coming in at the number 5 spot, Pete Alonso's home run against the Brewers. And let me clarify this. It's all plays on this list. It's not like the Knicks trading for Mikal Bridges or the Karl Anthony Towns trade. No, it's not any of that. The Mets signing Juan Soto. It's all plays. Because that's a moment for me. That's not... If I could do another list of top signings, if I wanted to. There's been that many good ones in New York this year. But coming in at 5, Pete Alonso's homer against the Brewers in Game 3. I was standing probably 10, 15 feet from where I am now. I was watching that game with my dad. When that ball left his bat, I jumped up and I started screaming. I did not think that ball was going to go out. But when it went over the wall, it scraped over that wall, I went insane. I probably woke up the whole neighborhood. That is what that home run exemplifies what the Mets were last year. Never say die. Never quit. They made it happen when they had to. And that Pete Alonso homer was one of the many great New York moments. That's why it's at number 5. In some cities, that could be number 1. But New York had such an awesome sports year that it comes in at number 5. Coming in at number 4, Juan Soto's home run in Game 5 versus the Cleveland Guardians to really seal the deal and make sure the Yankees were going to clinch the ALCS and go to the World Series. When I tell you how sick I was last year in October when Juan Soto hit the homer and I had to watch the Yankees celebrate at Progressive Field, I couldn't even explain it. I was devastated because I knew the Mets would have beat the Yankees. But that is such an awesome moment. That whole at-bat, Juan Soto battling, fighting off pitch after pitch, the Soto shuffle, his swagger, everything that came after it, him stopping at the first baseline, screaming at the dugout, getting them fired up. I thought the Yankees were going to win the World Series in that moment. I thought there was no way that they lost it. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I never said it on here because when I woke up the next day, I realized that the Dodgers were going to destroy them. But in that moment, I thought the Yankees were going to win the World Series, and I was devastated because the Mets were the better team last year. You can't change my mind about it. But awesome moment, number 4, another one that could be a lot higher in other cities. All right, at number 3, Francisco Lindor's performance in that game against the Braves to clinch a playoff spot. The homer he hit in the 9th inning. And this isn't just specific to Lindor. This is the whole team, the whole Mets team. The way that they battled back after getting essentially no hit for 7 innings. And the floodgates open. And then Edwin Diaz goes out there and he gives up a couple runs. But they get back in the box. And Cap does what Cap does. And he's not the captain yet. But he's going to be named the captain eventually, I think, of the Mets. And he hit a 3-run homer to give the New York Mets the lead and send them to the playoffs. Another electric moment. And this isn't the last time we'll be hearing Francisco Lindor's name on this list, by the way. Lindor and the Mets against the Braves coming in at the number 3 spot. At number 2, and this number 1 and 2, they were so close. But I had to go Dante's 3 against Philly in Game 2. Again, I was in the same spot as I was for Pete Alonso's home run. When Jalen got that miracle 3 to go in, I thought, okay, we're still in this game. And then when Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson marauded Tyrese Maxey, poked the ball free, and got possession of it. Kicked it out to DiVincenzo. First 3, no good. I was like, oh, that's probably the game right there. But Isaiah Hartenstein flies in from the top of the key to get the rebound. He battles for it. He somehow corrals it and gets it out to OG Anunoby. Anunoby back to the top of the key to DiVincenzo. His 3-pointer, bang, bang. The Knicks take a 1-point lead with 11 seconds remaining. And everything that came after that 3. The Hartenstein block on the other end. And then I forget who it was. I think it was maybe Hartenstein hit 2 free throws. Maybe it was Hartenstein. Somebody hit 2 free throws. Maybe it was DiVincenzo. Hit 2 free throws to really seal the deal. The call that the Sixers broadcast had where it was like the Sixers came up the turnpike. They split. We're going back to Philly. It's going to be a fun post game. For the Knicks to cancel that out. And for the Knicks to win that game, it was so awesome. That is one of the top sports moments of my life. If it wasn't for the number 1 spot, At number 1, Francisco Lindor home run, grand slam against the Phillies to seal the NLDS in Game 4 at Citi Field. I can't even, I blacked out during that homer. That was so ridiculous. I just started running around screaming. And that's a common theme with this list. This was a great sports year for me. I think it's a pretty fair list. Like, New York football sucked. Maybe there could have been a Rangers moment, maybe one of Igor Shesterkin's games in the playoffs. But I think this is a pretty fair list. There weren't really a ton of like great Yankees moments. They were good the whole year, but like, I don't know, maybe you could have had one of those Jazz Chisholm performance. But I think this Francisco Lindor Grand Slam is absolutely the number 1 option. The Mets had been looking for the big hit all night when he came to the plate. He came up with the bases loaded. The Phillies changed their pitcher. And as soon as that first pitch came in and Francisco Lindor took one of the biggest swings I've ever seen, I said, if he makes contact, this ball is going over the wall. And 3 pitches later, Francisco Lindor took an outside fastball into the right center bullpen for a grand slam to give the Mets the lead, and they never looked back from there. And you look at everything from that game. Sean Manaea, 7 innings. The double play that Jose Iglesias and Francisco Lindor teamed up on to keep the Phillies off the board. It was awesome. It was all leading up to Francisco Lindor for that grand slam. It was amazing. It was great. It was the Mets. It was the Mets in 2024. The Mets playoffs. It was so much fun, and I can't wait for the Mets to get back on the field in 2025. But as for 2024, that's my list. Top 5 moments of the year, sports-wise in New York. Pete Alonso's homer against the Brewers. Juan Soto's homer against Cleveland. Francisco Lindor and the Mets clinching a playoff spot against the Braves. Dante Devo's 3 against Philly in Game 2. And at the top spot, Lindor's grand slam to clinch the NLDS. Not clinch it, but essentially clinch it. All right, that's going to do it for this one. I'm your host, Ben Ballion. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed. If you want to have your voice heard on the Sports Pod, leave me your sports questions and takes at 848-305-8073. Make sure you check out all the links in the description below to check out my socials. Happy New Year, and make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.